So I believe in this year I've read a total of 84 or 85 books. So I had a lot to choose from, and I'm super excited to share with you guys my favorites. I'm kind of cheating, and even though I'm going in order, if I liked a whole series, I'm counting the series as one. So If I Lie by Corinne Jackson. This book was about a girl whose boyfriend has recently been deployed to Afghanistan, and she gets caught on camera kissing another guy, and it's just kind of about her being slut-shamed. But then what you find out later on in the book is that there's a bunch of secrets, and the main character isn't the only one who is keeping a secret. So this was super, super good. I think it had a really great message. I think my favorite part of this book is the main character. She was stubborn, so sometimes you just want to shake her and be like, just tell people. But at the same time, she's also one of the most loyal characters I've ever read about, so that's why this was super good. And I've never seen anybody read this on BookTube, so read it.
Hello.
Anna Dressed in Blood, and this is the first book in the Anna Dressed in Blood duology. It's by Kendar Blake. I got to meet Kendar Blake earlier on in this year, and she was super awesome, so I decided to pick up her book and so she could sign it. And I read this in October on Halloween, and it was just the perfect time of year to read it. It's about a guy who, he's a ghost hunter, and he moves to this town so he could kill this one ghost named Anna, and she's covered in blood. And Anna has never let anybody enter her house and leave, and Cass, our main character, enters her house, and he doesn't kill her the first time, but at the same time he also leaves, so it's kind of him trying to figure out why she let him survive. The Shatter Me series by Tahada Mafi. These books were super good. It's about a girl who has a lethal touch, and then it's a dystopian, and the society it's kind of like a military dystopian. It's very, I didn't expect it at all. But this girl, she has a lethal touch, and she ends up in solitary confinement because people think she's dangerous. And it starts off with her writing in diaries, and then when she finally gets out, I'm not going to tell you why because, spoilers. And it's really great. I really like the writing style in this. I think that's what made these books so awesome. And plus our main character, Juliet, had amazing character development. And there's a love triangle in this, but it's a very interesting one. It keeps you on your toes. You really don't know what's going to happen. And there's 2 novellas that go between each book, and those were pretty good as well. I suggest read them in the order that they're supposed to go, because I did not read the novellas until after. So I was a little bit confused on why everybody was obsessing over Warner, and then I read the novellas after I read Ignite Me, and I'm like, oh. And the books are Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me. I believe Ignite Me was my favorite, followed by Unravel Me, because this one had a really cool twist in the middle, and then Shatter Me. The Legend trilogy. I read this over spring break, and it was super fun, super fast-paced, super action-y. I believe my favorite in this series is the last one, Champion. I think they got better each one. And these books they're a dystopian, and they're told in a dual point of view, and it's about a girl and a guy. The girl, June, is from an upper class military family, and the guy, June, is kind of a criminal on the loose. So, and June's brother gets murdered, and Day is the #1 suspect, but then when they meet, the characters find out that neither one of them is who they thought they were going to be. So this is a super fun series. If you like dystopian, if you like The Hunger Games, if you like fast-paced books, these are a really good series. The Angel Fall series, I believe this is going to be a trilogy, and the last book comes out in May of next year. This book was so good, and I think this book I liked even better. A lot of people, I think, like this one better. I read these because my friend Jenna from Jenna Claire K told me to, and she was nice enough to get me this for Christmas because we did a little book exchange. Thank you so much, Jenna. It was so beautiful. And by this one, I had a better grasp for the world, and the second half of this book was insane and action-y and intense and beautiful, and it's about a girl named Penryn, and it's in a post-apocalyptic society where these angels have fallen, and they're basically just taking over the world and trying to get rid of the humans, and we don't know why. So it was super good. All of the sass are love interest, Rafi, or the angel who Penguin sees his wings get cut off, is a beautiful person, and their banter is so amazing, and I love them so much. Do they have a ship name?
I don't even know.
Penfee. Roffrin. Yeah. Number 9 is To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. This story was so cute. It was about a girl named Lara Jean, and she has this thing where whenever she has a crush on a boy and wants to get over them, she'll write them a letter and seal the envelope and address it to them, but she'll never send it. And she keeps this old hat box full of letters to all the boys that she's loved before. And then suddenly one day she comes into her room and somebody has mailed all of the letters. So it's kind of her dealing with the fiasco of all of the letters being sent to all these boys that she's loved before. And it was so much fun. I think I loved this so much because I was just really in the mood for this kind of book when I decided to pick it up. It was so cute. Jenny Han's characters are so real, and I think this book really kept you guessing on how the characters were going to react to their letters, and it was so much fun. I love Jenny Han's writing, and it was so great. And I'm super excited for the sequel that I think hopefully comes out in 2015, and it's called P.S. I Still Love You, so I'm super excited for the sequel to this one. The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer series by Michelle Hodkin. These books were so great, and the beautiful, beautiful writing, and such great characters, and Noah Shaw. That's really all you need to know. So read them because Noah Shaw. But it's about a girl who she is suffering from PTSD from being the only survivor in a building collapse, but then it starts to get to the point where you can't tell if it's PTSD or if there's something else. And I think Mara was a super cool character to be in her head. Again, Noah Shaw. These books up. Let's see. Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and the last book that came out at the end of this year, The Retribution of Mara Dyer. And I think my favorite is The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and then I liked The Unbecoming, and then I liked Retribution. But I wasn't disappointed in this one like a lot of people were. I still really enjoyed it. Series I really liked because it just continued to add to the amazingness of it, and it is the Cinder series. The first book is a dystopian retelling with cyborgs of Cinderella, and I know that sounds very strange, but don't worry, it is fantastic. It is so good, and just the concept is really interesting. And even if you don't like sci-fi, I highly suggest picking these up because it's just so unique. And Scarlet is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, and Cress is a retelling of Rapunzel. And the last book, Winter, comes out in fall of 2015. And that is called Winter, and it's a retelling of Snow White. Something that I really liked about the series is each one of them has a new main character who are all amazing, but at the same time you still get to see the other characters as they go on. So as the books get bigger, you just get more and more storylines, and it kind of reminds me of the Mortal Instruments in the fact that just you start to get points of views from more characters, and it just becomes more intense and more amazing as the series goes on. And I'm so excited for Winter because there's a little sneak of Winter in this, and just I believe my favorite in the series was Cress because the ending of it was just so intense. It was like Ocean 11 heist type thing, and it was just so good. And then I think Cinder was my next favorite, and then Scarlet. But these two are very close. I just know Cress was my favorite, and I'm super excited for Winter. Prince Kai is bae. Sixth favorite series of the year is the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now these are probably higher than they should be, but at the same time I enjoyed these so much that there was no way that I couldn't make these as high. Yes, there's probably a lot better written books in the world, and there's a lot better plot, better constructed, more unique, but these books just are so much fun. I would be lying to myself if I pretended that I didn't enjoy these as much as I did. It's about a girl who moves to a small town, and her next door neighbor is a hot alien. So then the fun begins there. And the characters are so sassy, Katie, our main character, is one of my favorites just because she doesn't take crap from anybody, and I love her for that. For instance, the first time Katie and David meet, who is our love interest, he's a jerk, of course, like all YA boyfriends are when they first meet. I shouldn't say all, but you know. And she flips Damon off. And it was beautiful. So Katie, you are my hero. And the series is Obsidian, Onyx, ignore the covers, Opal, Origin, and Opposition. And I like these all about equal, but I think my two favorites were Onyx and Opal because these, I'm pretty sure I read both of these in one sitting each. They're just so fast-paced and so much fun, and there were so many times where I would actually laugh out loud reading these books. So addicting, I think, is the best way to describe that series. My fifth favorite book of the year is In the Afterlife by Alexandra Bracken. We're best friends, I decided. I reread the first two Darkest Minds books right before this came out, and I just loved those books so much. So I was super excited to pick up this one and see how it all ended. And the series is about a girl in a dystopian society, and in this society the kids have gotten this disease, and about 99% of the population of the children in the United States have been killed by this disease. But the ones who survive have superpowers, and not superpowers, but they have powers, and the adults are afraid of these kids, so they put them in concentration camps, and it's just so good. It's about a girl named Ruby who gets broken out of hers, and it's kind of her life as a refuge because adults get paid if they turn kids into camps. So it's kind of her experience of being on the run, and she meets a bunch of other kids, and it is beautiful, and I love the characters, and I love the series, and the first book is one of my favorite books of all time, forever and ever, and they're so funny. I think that's my favorite thing about these books, is they're hysterical. And this is honestly one of the best conclusions to a dystopian trilogy that I have ever read. So many dystopian trilogies, they wrap up the character stories, but they don't wrap up the world, and this did such a beautiful job of wrapping up this world that gave enough explanation for it to make sense, but at the same time didn't flood us with a bunch of things that didn't make sense to just try to explain things that were fiction anyway. So this was so good. I love these characters, I love the sass, I love the plot, and just this made me so happy. And even though our main characters were a little bit frustrating at sometimes in this series, I just think that this was the perfect way to end it because beautifulness. I think out of the series, my Darkest Minds is my favorite, and then Never Fade, and then In the Afterlife, but this is still one of my favorite series of all time. Plus Liam is bae. If Liam's out there, call me. The Slammed trilogy, and this book, I can't even. It was so good. It's kind of a weird in between young adult and new adult. There's nothing really risque in it, but just the characters are a little bit older. In the first book, she's in her senior year of high school, and then these two, she's in her freshman years of college. So it's kind of between two genres, but it's about a girl who moves to a new town, and her next door neighbor just happens to be a hot guy. Well, that's all you need to know. And there's slam poetry in it, and it's so good, and I can't even begin to describe how amazing it is. And something about Colleen Hoover's books is they're so emotional, like in a good way though, because I think that some of the concepts hurt the feels, but at the same time just how these characters end up dealing with the situations are just so beautiful, and such a great story about loss and love and finding life after a tragedy, and just so good. And the first book is Slammed, which I believe was my favorite, and then Point of Retreat, and then This Girl, which was kind of a companion to Slammed because some of the scenes in this are similar scenes to Slammed, but told by the guy narrator, but at the same time there was a new ending to this one that you need to read this. If you've read the first two, read this. I don't care if you don't want to reread Slammed in the guy's point of view. You have to read this because it was beautiful. And this series, so good. Number 3 on my favorites list does not surprise me at all that it is this high. We all knew that since there was a new Cassandra Clare book coming out this year, we were going to love it because Cassandra Clare is queen and she knows how to write a fantastic finale. This City of Heavenly Fire, so good. Such a great conclusion to an amazing series. This is the last book in the Mortal Instruments series, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows about that. City of Bones, the first book, is about a girl who finds out she is this thing called a shadow hunter, aka a human warrior with angel blood, after her mom has been taken. And this is the last book of the 6-book series. So good. It is absolutely huge, but I read it in like a day, and it was beautiful, and these characters are so amazing, and all the ships have sailed and flown and flourished, and it was just so good. It was so intense. She introduced characters in a new series, which I am so excited about, Lady Midnight, fall 2015. Super excited about. I loved Emma Carstairs, and I really also loved the incorporation of the prequel series elements in there, which is the Infernal Devices series. So good. This made my heart happy, and it was beautiful, and nothing hurt. At the same time, everything hurt because this book was so good. No surprise that this is this high in my favorites. I also reread the first 5 books in that series this year. They were amazing as always. My second favorite series of this year just holds a special place in my heart. It's something that kind of has gotten me into fantasy a little bit more. I've met the author and she is my spirit animal. She is so incredible, and the series is so beautifully written and crafted, and they're such amazing characters, and I'm pretty sure most people know what it is by now. But it is the Throne of Glass series. I have not read the prequel novellas, so I will not include them, but these books. It's a fantasy novel about a girl who is an assassin, and she gets caught, and she is in this kind of concentration camp type thing, and the prince bails her out of this camp, and she now has to fight in this competition against other male assassins, and the winner of this competition gets to be the king's personal assassin, and she can eventually win her freedom. But that's just the first book. These books go places that you have no clue what's going to happen. If you think you can predict what's coming next, you're wrong and you're lying to yourself, because so beautiful. The first book is Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and then Heir of Fire, which is the third book in the series. It's going to be 6 books, and I can't even imagine where this series is going to go. The covers of the second 2 are so beautiful, and this one was my favorite because it's just so much character development, so many amazing new characters, so much action, so much adventure, so many new things. And by the way, can we talk about this? 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 So yes, I am so excited for book 4 to come out in the fall. It's one of my most anticipated reads of 2015, and these books give me the feels. And I could fangirl about them forever and ever and ever, and I love them. I love them so much. Okay. My number 1 favorite book of this year, I believe I chose it because it surprised me, and I expected to like it, but I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. I found out this book from Emma Watson's Twitter because she received an arc of it, and she tweeted the author and about how much she absolutely loved it. So I'm like, okay, Emma Watson is queen. I will follow in her footsteps. My favorite book of 2014 is Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delara. This book, so good. I cannot express enough my love and feels for this book. A lot of people either really love this or they don't like it as much because they think it is too similar to Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. But at the same time, Stephen Chbosky was actually this author's mentor, and he was one of the first people to read this book. It can't really be a ripoff if he was involved in the process. And I think people compare it only, the plot is completely different, the characters are completely different. I think people only compare it just because it has a similar writing style. And this book was so beautiful. It's about a girl who, she just had recently lost her sister, and it's about, she copes by writing letters to people who have also died young in order so she can finally come to terms with what happened to her sister. And just a amazing story about a girl finding friends, finding the meaning of love, finding what it means to survive without somebody who you didn't think you could survive about, and just so good. Some of my favorite quotes in the world are from this book. I think one of the reasons why it was my favorite is not only did it have beautiful writing, but it's quotable. It reminded me a lot of Perks of Being a Wallflower in that way, and just thinking about it makes my heart happy. And I think I love this so much because it just kind of come up on me. Like, I knew I was going to love the Throne of Glass series going in because everybody had been raving about it. I knew I was going to love Air of Fire, but this one had to win just because my feels. I'm actually going to read my favorite quote from this book. It's one of my favorite quotes ever. And maybe what growing up really means is knowing that you don't have to be just a character going whatever way the story says. It's knowing that you could be the author instead. Just, this book is filled with so many beautiful quotes like that just hit me in the feels. And I don't know. Read this book. Read it. And plus it's beautiful. And I'm super excited to read anything that Ava DeLauro writes. So these last couple books, I have a few other categories that I ranked in a top 14, and they're just too many books that I still wanted to mention that I really like. So I have a couple honorable mentions and then a few other categories. My first honorable mention is The Infinite Sea by Rick Yancey. The Fifth Wave is one of my favorite books ever, and I think that this was a pretty good continuation. I didn't like it nearly as much as The Fifth Wave, and a lot of people haven't been a big fan of this book, but it was still mind-blowing. The writing was still beautiful. The characters were still hysterical, so I still think that this was a solid installment in this series, so I couldn't not mention it. The book is The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson, and this is a contemporary book with beautiful writing, and I just loved it so much. And the final honorable mention is The Beginning of Everything by Robin Schneider. This book was very John Green-esque, but not in a way that she was ripping him off or anything. I just think this was so great. If you are a fan of Paper Towns by John Green, pick this up. So good. The writing was great. I really felt like I could be connected to the main character. I sympathized with him. And just, and there's some great side characters in this one as well. Plus yellow covers. I'm a fan of yellow. I don't read a lot of adult fiction, but this book, I just was blown away by it. It was so messed up and so mind-blowing, but at the same time, just, And it's Gone Girl by Gillian? It's Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This book was so messed up. If you are okay with adult content and you're in for a messed up mind, pick this book up. It was just so mind-blowing. The characters were absolutely terrible to each other, but it was so much fun to watch them crash and burn in each other's presence. And the movie was great too. Book is my favorite book that I read for school, and that was The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini? I apologize if I said that completely wrong. Kahale? Nailed it. But this book was so amazing, so good, and I wrote 3 papers on this book and I still like it, so I think that just says it in itself. So if you ever take a class and this is an option to read it, I highly suggest doing it because there's a lot of things to academically look at as well in this book. And my final category is my favorite novella or short story of the year, and this is something that I just read a couple days ago, but I just loved it too much to not mention it, and it is Midnights by Rainbow Rowell. It is the first short story in the My True Love Gave to Me. This was just so cute. I love Rainbow Rowell. I didn't get to read any of her books this year. I still need to read Landline, and I reread Fangirl this year. But just, I love Rainbow Rowell's writing, and it was just so cute. I mean, Rainbow Rowell has a way of, I believe the story's like 22 pages, and she made me fall in love with 2 characters' love in 22 pages when sometimes it takes some authors hundreds of pages to make us feel the same thing. So Rainbow Rowell really has something special to her. So this was my favorite novella / short story of the year. Alright, thank you for watching. This is probably going to be a really long video, and my camera died in the middle, and my lighting's probably terrible by now. But, you know what? Books, because the things we do for love and books, and I'm super excited to go into 2015. Some of the releases of 2015 just look so amazing, so I'm super excited, and I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you for watching me ramble about the books that I love, and having me say this is so good so many times in a row. Thank you for watching. Oh, YOLO, it's my channel. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. I'm probably going to edit that out. Okay. It's about a girl who finds out she's a shadow hunter after her mom has been taken by demons. Okay.
Yes. It's been so long.
It's been so long. Bye. It's City Bones, the first one, is about a girl. And it's so beautiful. Why not? Why not? Read this book. Nailed it. And the final book of this not of this started from the bottom, now we're here. Okay. Girl who finds out she's a Shanto. It was going to be we were gonna obsess with it. No. I'm gonna hurt myself for being like so good after every book's there. So Jackson. And this book, I'm trying to refrain from being like, this book was really good, because obviously it's really good if it's in my favorites. But this and that was number,
I think that was 7.
7. I believe 7.
6. Yeah, 7.
That was number 7. So much character developed. So I'm gonna hate myself for doing this, but I never gave a synopsis for The Darkest Minds. This book was super good. It was about this book was super good. That worked out once I like said it correctly.
Yeah.
Close enough. Nailed it.
I think the next one's a 10.
Yes.
I'm trying. Yeah.
You should tell it for me. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I'm trying to.
My 10. The 9th one. The 9th one.
Yeah.
No. So it can't really be I don't read very many adult books, but as you can see, YA 5 ever. YA 5 ever. Why? This is totally gonna be Bluebird.